What's up, traders? My name is Vincent Mokotedi, the founder of VinnBoss Signal Factory with over 7 years of proven trading results. I am the only trader who trades publicly with my community. Every single trade, wins and losses included. No hiding, no manipulation, just transparency and real trading results. Furthermore, I would like to tell you that I've already built a Telegram and a WhatsApp community filled with serious traders only. The best part is it's free to join. All you need to do is number 1, register with XNS under our exclusive link. Number 2, verify your trading account. Number 3, fund at least $100. Some traders are funding $1,000 to enjoy higher profits. When you fund, you will get to receive the following that I will mention. Firstly, it will be the weekly Forex forecast of all the major pairs, gold and silver included, daily signals and analysis for London and New York sessions, fundamental news breakdown on major economic events. You will get again a course called Beginner to Pro Ultimate Course for both beginners and struggling traders seeking consistency. Proven strategies tested and verified by myself and other professional traders. One-on-one mentorship where you can request personal attention to deepen your price action and signal understanding. But that's not all. If you are not registered with us or you're not ready to switch over to XNS as of yet, you would still receive daily analysis of 6 pairs only, which includes the euro dollar, the pound and the dollar, the euro Canadian dollar, the pound Canadian dollar, the euro and the pound, and last but not least, the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. You will only receive the London session analysis only. That is a limited access that we give to those who are not with us. So don't miss out on all the full access to premium trading education, signals, and membership. After funding, send proof of registration to WhatsApp 068 060 5332 for instant access to everything. And traders with the euro and the dollar, fantastic things happen from the CPI signal, of course. And then we took out profit earlier today, early in the morning, in the beginning of Tuesday. Now, this is what I didn't expect. I expected to see a little bit more pullback before we take profit, but the market went straight to our take profit. Now, I hate to say this to those of you who are not in the real account traders community, but you already know how we do this. We are not going to be dealing with euro dollar again until next week, even though tomorrow is the interest rate decision of the dollar, because that's the rule that we operate with. But for those who are with us on the real account traders community, we are going to analyze it anyway. So it is unfair for you, but it's also unfair that you are watching this beautiful analysis and a precise analysis without registering and everything. So with that being said, it's easy to register, guys. It's very easy. You just register. I leave the link below the video description, of course, and in the pinned comment. The registration is free. After registering, make sure you fund the minimum of $100, and then after funding $100, you get all the benefits. I'm talking about free twice a day analysis of the London session together with the New York session daily. I'm talking about a deeper and a longer video of the weekly Forex forecast. I'm talking about the strong versus the weak currency setups that we go into week in and week out with this with our strong versus weak analysis and comparison that we do between the currencies to map out the best currency setups going into the next week, rather than just focusing mainly on the 6 free YouTube watch list of the unregistered traders. You get a trading course, of course, the beginner to pro ultimate course that takes you from a beginner who understands nothing about trading to a pro that trades like me and the rest of the real account traders community without help, of course. Make sure that you guys register and you get this. So let's go back to the analysis. This is what happened from, you know, how long it was on Thursday. This is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This is Monday, and in the beginning of Tuesday. So we held this trade that long because we are not only chasing the markets, we are trying to be correct in the market. That's why we did put our break even below here at our entry, and everything played out as it was supposed to. So without wasting much time, we don't glorify wins. We know the only thing we glorify is the losses, because they can teach us something and they can show us what to expect. So with that being said, traders, we are now going to the pound and the dollar. Traders, with the pound and the dollar, it is the same thing that has happened with the euro since Thursday break even. We nearly got out with this spike on Friday, but it was nothing enough to reach our entry, of course. And Monday, right when the market was about to open the New York session, we took profit, of course, and we discussed this with the real account traders community. And I'm not going to be discussing this again for the rest of the week, of course, because it's already done. We've already won this. There's no need for us to be discussing this again this week. I hope it makes sense. You already know when we win a pair that week, we do not want to, discuss it further again without we wasting time on it, or because we are trying to avoid what winning and then end up ruining our edge on on a particular currency pair and losing half what we've made, or losing all of it. Now we are negative again. No, that's not how we do it. So with that being said, this was a fantastic setup. The same 1-2 wave that happened on the euro dollar, it did happen right here on the pound and the dollar. So this is never going to be discussed again. We are now going to deal with other pairs going forward. So with that being said, traders, we are now going to be focusing on the euro and the Canadian dollar. And with the euro and the Canadian dollar, what we did have yesterday, we did have this entry, and after reaching the new high, it was not enough to make that 1:3, of course. And what did we do? We did break even, of course, after this sharp move that came out during the New York session. We did have this sharp move, and then we did break out, boom, to the downside. After the breakout, the re-entry, we did enter, and we are still in this trade. What do I want to see? I want to see this market go up to make that one. This is not 1:3 either way. This is 1:4. I don't know how much. Of course, 1:4.66. This is the setup that we are in. So if you're not in with us, what you can look for, of course, because we did not give any signals for the free signal, you should look for buying opportunities right here, and then confirmation to the upside. This would be a great place to look for buying opportunities and take profit on this new high. Of course, this is the euro and the Canadian dollar going into the deeper ends of this current week. So without wasting much time, traders, this is my expectations on the euro and the Canadian dollar. I do not want to see it go to the downside. But if it does go like this, of course, a pullback will be imminent to retest the broken uh, weekly break of structure and act as resistance or the supply zone for us to make that 1:3 risk to reward ratio. So without wasting much time, let's go and see how the pound and the Canadian dollar is lining up. And beautiful traders, what we have to do today is the consolidation from yesterday was strong from the Canadian dollar, as evident in the EUROCAD, as evident in the pound and the Canadian dollar, and much evident in the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. So, with that being said, traders, let's go to uh, our understanding of why we did enter here. And remember, yesterday here we did take a buy, but it was not a great break, even as some of us took a small loss. It was not the loss that was put here with the stop loss. No, we did not get out of here, but it was a small loss that was like 40%, 30% to 40% of what we were going to risk. So, with that being said, traders, this is what I didn't expect to see. I thought this was going to go up, but in turn, it did give us a great open structure. Of course, I did mention that if we reach this level right here of 1.8758, this would be a great place to put break even to entry, because of this looks like a break to the downside. But to us, the demand zone, of course, is still holding. And after the hold, we are now looking to make that 1:6 to make the new high right there. Let's go and check 1:6.60. This would be a trade setup that we are now into. And if you are not already in, of course, what you can look for, small pullback to continue with us to the upside to take profit at 1.8820. This would be a great and a fantastic place to take profit at. But if we do get this and we break the weekly break of structure like this, a pullback will be imminent. And of course, the retest of the weekly break of structure at 1.8653 would be a great place to look for selling opportunities to go down and make that setup of 1:3 risk to reward ratio. And with that being said, this is the pound and the Canadian dollar for us. Let's go to the euro and the euro and the pound, not the Canadian dollar. The euro and the pound is exactly what an example of a strong psychological mastering comes into play. Like yesterday, we did expect to see this come down like this and then a pullback to retest these levels. But instead, when we get to these levels, we just shot straight back up. Now, what do I expect from now? I expect to see this continue to the upside to retest this supply zone, of course, and then look for selling opportunities from this area of 0.8662 to continue down to make a new low right here at 0.8634, or make that 1:3 risk to reward ratio. This would be a perfect setup if only if we are looking for selling opportunities right above at this level of 0.8662. Now, if we do get a deeper pullback, of course, the euro momenting up to 0.8667, this would be a great place also to look for selling opportunities to reach this level of 0.8634 as the new low, or to make this new low, because the market has already made us or gave us a new low. But if this market plays out stronger for the pound, we will look for this right here and a continuation to the downside right here from this level. So this break is imminent from this level of 0.8645. This is the level that I would be looking for to break 0.8645. This would be a great place. If I do break below, I would like to see a small pullback to retest it as the resistance or the short-term supply, and a continuation to the downside. But overall, I still think we are bound to retest our supply zone right here before anything else, and then a continuation to the downside. It will be imminent enough. So that's it, traders, with this euro and the pound pair. So with that being said, we are going to the last but not least, the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. And traders, with the US dollar and the Canadian dollar, we did have a very strong setup from this and to the upside, though I personally was looking for a continuation to the upside to make that new high. So what did happen was we did not get any momentum to the upside. There was a break, of course, and with this break we did take a buy, got invalidated for the first time, and then after the invalidation the market just went straight down to break the weekly break of structure. Now what does this mean to us? Now remember, you should check my psychology or my mindset from the wins that we did have with the euro and the dollar, the pound and the dollar, as opposed to the loss that we did have and the change of structure that we do have. Now, traders, without wasting much time, let's get into this. Firstly, what we'd like to see is a pullback to this weekly break of structure to continue a downward movement to make that 1:3 risk to reward ratio. It will be highly impossible for me to look for buying opportunities, especially with the weekly break of structure. But if the market does this, I think the previously demand zone at 1.3826 would also serve as a great place to look for shorts or make the new low, regarding whether this would be the last low before the retest, or whether this would make the last low before coming up to the retest, but this low would be made from this sell only. And if we are going to make this weekly break of structure as the retest, we would only be looking for 1:3 risk to reward ratio. We would not be targeting the new low, as it would not be enough pips in it to risk or to take profit at. So with that being said, traders, let's check again. We were expecting this to go to the upside. Now remember, I did pick the free YouTube watch list strategically so that you can see the strength relative to each other. So with that being said, traders, what I do see is the Canadian dollar did have some strength over the euro, over the pound, and now over the US dollars. Do you understand? From yesterday, there was a strong momentum on the euro, and the Canadian dollar. There was strong momentum again to the downside on the pound and the Canadian dollar, and today there's strong momentum again and yesterday again there's strong momentum on the US dollar and the Canadian dollar, which led to even the break of structure only on the US dollar and the Canadian dollar, because not only on the euro and the dollar we did take profit to the upside, on the pound and the dollar we did take profit to the upside, and of course when the dollar fell continuing to the downside, this led to the change of structure and giving Canadian dollar the strength to continue its strong movement to the upside. Now with this being said, traders, this allows us to do what? This allows us to check most carefully on tomorrow with the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. Both these currencies are having interest rate decisions, and both are expected to cut the rates. So be careful going into this. Firstly, we are going to start with the Canadian dollar, of course, and then later on, the one that moves the market strongly is the US dollar. And I would like to tell you what I want to see in this, but we will discuss it tomorrow with when I don't think we'll discuss, but we will discuss it for the fact of the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. So tomorrow we are only discussing euro Canadian dollar, pound Canadian dollar, euro and the pound, and this dollar currency pair, which is the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. And I will discuss it only in this aspect of the US dollar, Canadian dollar. We'll not be discussing it in because the euro dollar and the pound and the dollar are already taken out, and we would like to keep our competitive edge on those currency pairs. This we did make good fantastic setups from last week on this type of signal. It was on Thursday, so this was the kind of signal that we did have both on the euro dollar and the Canadian dollar. So with that being said, traders, I do expect us to I will only be discussing the interest rate decision based on the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. But with the real traders community, we will discuss everything related to the dollar, with all, even the Aussie dollar and the US dollar, the Kiwi and the dollar, and the franc and the dollar. We discuss everything and give out the setups and how the market would play out. So with that being said, traders, this is a fantastic setup, and with it being the fantastic setup, what we want to see is a pullback to the upside and a continuation to the downside. 1:3 risk to reward ratio if we do retest the weekly break of structure, and the new low if we test this broken demand zone, which will now turn to the supply zone if we do get a strong dollar in accordance to the pullback to the upside, or if we get a deeper pullback to the upside. This would be the new low that we'll be making. So that's it from me, traders. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and happy trading.